Hey, who are you gonna call? Well, with this phone, I suppose it had better be Ghostbusters. I am so glad this is a thing that exists. I love it. We're getting extra real with this product as it's the Real Ghostbusters Real Telephone. They probably did have to specify that though, as I'm sure a lot of people might just think this is a toy at first. Pretty cool feature about this phone too is that it's new! Sweet, I've gone back 30 years to 87! See all you 2017 suckers later! We got a 1-year warranty on this, but I don't see how that ever matters when this is always gonna be new. Really real telephone though, I've never understood putting new on the actual packaging like this because it's gonna be a liar pretty darn soon. We got some pretty sweet features with this phone like pulse/tone switch, I'm sure that's good, and redial memory, remember when that was a luxury? And here would be my favorite feature, switching the ringer off so I don't actually get your calls. Privacy mute button, and a 6-foot cord. You can also hang this phone up on your sweet wood panel wall. It can also be used in purgatory apparently, which counts as your desk phone, which I guess is pretty apt. A real telephone. I don't know why that amuses me, but them adding an "ah" to it on the side of the box seems funnier somehow. The back of the box gives us that same desk phone purgatory view where it lets us know how to use such a complicated device as a telephone. Wait, the hashtag button is for redial? Hashtag how do I access Twitter on this phone? The Real Ghostbusters Real Telephone, or a Real Telephone, was made by Remco. You may remember them from such other Real Ghostbusters treats as the electronic arcade game.
Just open it already, shut up.
So inside we've got our no-ghost base for the phone and the receiver, protected by some cardboard, and the instructions. So the instructions tell us how to display the phone 3 different ways, just flat or slightly raised up or wall-mounted. The no-ghost looks particularly terrified about this prospect. The flip side of the instructions tell us once again how to use a phone. You know, that function on your phone that you probably use the least. Once again, you can switch the phone to pulse dialing if you live in an area where pulse dialing service is used. You know, I'd think this phone was old if the box didn't tell me how new it was. Receiving a call. Whenever the phone rings, pick it up and use it as a standard telephone. I don't know. If you need the instructions to tell you that, you can't handle this. Though I suppose some people these days might actually be unfamiliar with old school placing the phone down to hang it up. This phone can remember the last number you dialed. Think of all the time that'll save you. Your PC phone? This phone's a computer? Yeah, right, that'll be the day. So back in these dark ages of corded phones, you actually had to plug them into the wall. I know, pretty frightening. And if you have a 4-prong receptacle, you'll need an adapter to plug this phone in. I don't even know what the hell a 4-prong thingy is. And if you're outside the US and Canada and you're hardcore about using this phone, you can just wire the damn thing up yourself. Wow, I'm glad at least they gave them instructions for that. So here's our pieces of the phone. We got the no-ghost base, which is just a giant piece of plastic with this, since all the electronics are housed within the receiver. On the back, we got some rubber stoppers so it won't scrape up the wall if you got it wall-mounted. And we got the pretty stiff little flip switch here for if you just want it slightly slanted while you lay it down. And on the back, we again have the copyright dates for Columbia Pictures and when this toy was made by Remco. And it was made in China. One of the things I particularly like about this phone, I mean, besides obviously that it's Ghostbusters, is how they made the No Ghost logo kind of 3D so he pops out. There was another really similar no-ghost style Ghostbusters phone where it was just flat. So yeah, in my opinion, the Remco Real Ghostbusters phone is the much cooler looking design of the two. We got this piece which goes in here, and that's mostly just so if you have the phone wall mounted, it won't just fall right off to the floor. So yeah, once upon a time, these connectors were actually used for telephones and not just your internet and modems and whatnot. And your telephone calls were bound by a cord. Can't say I miss that. I do wish I had a working landline so I could call the phone and we could hear it, but it's an 87 phone. There's no way it's a special ringtone or anything, so here's what it might have sounded like. But that's kind of boring, so we can always hope that it sounded a little more like this. Hello? If I was gonna nitpick something about it, I guess it'd be that I wish that the ghost kind of looked whole until you put the receiver on it, but still, I absolutely adore the design of having the phone receiver be, the slash and the no ghost logo. Hashtag who you gonna call? That's what I'm typing. Pretend. Shut up. There, guys, I'm finally reviewing another pulse. Wow. Hang up. Ringer off. I love this phone, even though it's pretty much useless, because who am I gonna call? No one on this! Yeah! Inconvenient. Hello? I know, technically, I didn't use this phone for its actual purpose, but hey, it's just like the phones of today. The actual phone function of this phone isn't super important. This is a really nice looking display piece if it's hooked up or not, and if I ever do for some reason have a landline connected in the future, you know what phone you're gonna call. Well, probably not actually you, whoever you are, but someone who has the number to my imaginary future landline. The base is just plastic, but it feels super solid and it could take many a Janine angry hang-ups. Like I mentioned before, I really like the extra mile they went with this one by having the no-ghost features popping out rather than just being flat like the other phone out there, 10. Having the receiver be the slash in the no ghost logo is pretty much the perfect way to realize a Ghostbusters phone, which is probably why it was done the same way the 2 times it happened. And yeah, for something that seems like such a no-brainer for Ghostbusters merch, this Remco one branded off the Real Ghostbusters, and this one released as a promo piece in '85 for the home video release of the movie by RCA Columbia seem to be the only 2 times they made something like this. The only other Ghostbusters phones I found, besides of course covers for smartphones, were an odd green and yellow one, which I think were just toys based off the look of them. Which, if they were, would also be why this one had to remind us that it was real. These ones also look like Peter is shooting a phone cord at Slimer. What's also kind of bizarre is these Ghostbusters phones in both varieties seem to be pretty scarce. I really don't get that. I mean, who wouldn't have wanted a Ghostbusters logo telephone back when these were relevant? 8. Well, in a way, this almost makes too much sense to be that weird. Though people might have thought it a bit funny if they saw this hanging on a wall back in '87. 5. This is a great box, and it's new! That's not funny anymore, or was it ever? Anyway, it's an awesome display piece, but a little bare on the back, and could have maybe used some of the characters thrown in there somewhere. 8. And the MMZ overall is 9! Because sometimes shit happens, someone has to deal with it, and who you gonna call? No, Q5, I don't accept your apology. You ruined my favorite show back in the day. How'd you even get this number? This phone isn't even hooked up! Angry hanging up was so much more satisfying back in the day.